The insult that echoed through the stars. The vastness of space stretched out before the Galactic Council, a vast chamber floating at the edge of the universe. Hundreds of species, from the most advanced to the most ancient, sat in silence. These representatives were the leaders of entire star systems, the elite of the galaxy. The room hummed with the energy of debate and the whispers of those who believed they controlled the fate of the galaxy. Today, however, something would happen that would shake them to their core. The council was discussing matters of defense, how to maintain the delicate balance of power that had lasted for eons. The topic on the table, the growing power of humanity. The room had been filled with murmurs and whispers for weeks, all questioning humanity's sudden rise in influence. Some saw Earth's military might as a threat, while others dismissed them as just another species trying to prove itself. They had no place among the stars, they believed. As the discussions began, Supreme General Xerox of the Vagar Empire, a towering four-armed alien with a crown of fire on his head, stood up. His race had ruled the galaxy for thousands of years, and his reputation was built on his brutal tactics and unparalleled strength. He had crushed countless civilizations, leaving only ashes in his wake. He had seen it all, and nothing impressed him. But humanity was different. "They're not like us," Xerox said, his voice booming through the chamber. "Humanity is weak. They have no true strength. Their military might, such as it is nothing more than a joke. Their technology is old-fashioned, and their tactics are primitive. They fight for defense, not for conquest, and that makes them cowards." The room fell silent. His words were harsh, but they rang with truth in the ears of many council members. Some nodded, agreeing with the general's assessment. The humans had never been involved in a large-scale war across the galaxy, unlike many of the species in the room who had conquered and destroyed worlds without hesitation. Humanity was known for its peacekeeping efforts, for defending its planet from threats, but it had never made a true move to claim a galactic empire. Xerox's voice cut through the stillness. If the humans were ever forced into war, they would be crushed. Their outdated weapons would do nothing against the power of the Vagar Empire. Their cowardice will be their undoing. The words hit like a blow. For a moment, everyone in the room held their breath. Xerox's reputation was immense, and his words carried weight. If he believed humanity was weak, surely the others would follow his lead. But as the silence stretched on, a soft voice interrupted. Aria Callan, the human diplomat, stood up. She was small compared to the towering figures around her, her presence seemingly insignificant in the eyes of many. She had attended countless meetings with the Galactic Council before, representing Earth's interests with calm words and gentle diplomacy. But this time, the situation was different. This time, her eyes were sharp, and her resolve was like steel. Her voice was steady as she addressed the council, her words cutting through the tension like a blade. "General Xerox," she said, her voice carrying the weight of history, "you are wrong. We are not cowards." A murmur rippled through the council. Many turned to look at Aria, confused. She had always been the calm voice of reason, the negotiator who avoided conflict. But this time, there was something different in her voice, something fiery and powerful. Her eyes were focused on Xerox, who sneered at her, clearly expecting her to back down. Aria's gaze did not falter. "We may not seek war, but we are not afraid of it. You mistake our restraint for weakness, but we know when to fight. And when humanity decides to strike, the galaxy will know that it has awakened something far stronger than you can imagine." A few members of the council shifted in their seats, surprised by Aria's words. The Vagar Empire had seen countless worlds fall before its might, but humanity had always kept its distance, observing from afar. It was hard to believe that these fragile, young creatures had any real power to challenge the galactic powers that ruled the stars. But there was something in Aria's voice, something unyielding, that made the council pause. She was no longer just a diplomat. She was a defender of humanity, and her words carried the weight of every person who had fought to protect their home. Xerox's eyes narrowed as he studied her. He had underestimated humanity before, and he wasn't about to make the same mistake again. But Aria's words were like a spark, igniting something in the hearts of those around her. The room was filled with an uneasy tension. The council members who had once mocked humanity now began to question their assumptions. The Vanguard general leaned forward, his voice laced with contempt. "We'll see, Diplomat. You speak of strength, but I will believe it when I see it. Until then, Earth will remain a small and insignificant speck in the grand scheme of things." With that, Jurek sat back down, his words hanging in the air like a challenge. He had dismissed humanity's power, but Aria's defiance had left a mark. The tension was thick, and Aria stood tall, knowing that her words had done more than defend humanity. They had sent a message across the stars. The council session continued, but the mood had shifted. The seeds of doubt had been planted, and humanity's place in the galaxy was no longer as certain as it had been before. The insult had been delivered, and Aria's retort had echoed through the stars, challenging everything the council thought they knew about Earth and its people. The stage was set. Humanity had been called weak, but the universe would soon discover that underestimating them was the biggest mistake the galaxy had ever made. The storm begins. The council chamber was filled with a hum of voices as the debate raged on after Aria's bold retort. But despite the attempts to continue the proceedings, the words she had spoken to General Jurek had left a mark on every one of them. Aria Callan, standing small in comparison to the towering figures around her, could feel the eyes of every representative on her. The weight of the entire galaxy seemed to be pressing down on her shoulders. But she did not falter. The words had already been spoken, and there was no turning back now. She had made her point. Humanity would not be underestimated again. The silence was broken by the voice of Admiral Kor, a representative from the Kaldar Collective, a species known for their advanced cybernetic enhancements. His voice carried the unmistakable sound of skepticism. "You claim humanity is strong, but where is the evidence? We've yet to see any substantial show of power from Earth. How can we believe your words?" Aria stood still, her hands clasped behind her back. Her mind raced, considering how to answer without giving away too much. The Galactic Council was powerful, yes, but humanity had always been a step ahead when it came to fighting for survival. What they didn't know was that humanity's greatest weapon wasn't in its ships, weapons, or even its advanced technology. It was in their will to protect their people. Before Aria could respond, Councillor Thaura, a tall, silver-skinned alien from the Lorian League, interrupted with a soft yet chilling voice. "Perhaps Admiral Kor is right. Maybe Earth has no real power after all. Maybe it's just another race-making noise. We've seen these species rise and fall throughout history." She turned her piercing gaze toward Aria. "So, tell us, Diplomat, how are humans different? What exactly is it that gives you such confidence?" Aria's heart pounded in her chest, but her voice remained steady. "What gives us confidence is our resolve. You see, we don't just fight for conquest or power, we fight for survival. When pushed to the brink, humanity's strength emerges like no other race in the galaxy. We don't just fight, we fight to win." The room seemed to freeze at her words. There was something different in her tone now, a deep conviction that shook the atmosphere. The others may have dismissed humanity's power before, but Aria knew better. Earth had faced countless challenges and had never backed down from a fight. A slight smile tugged at the corner of Thaura's lips. "Interesting," she said, her voice like cold steel. "But let's see if your words are true. Let's see if humanity truly has the strength to stand against the galaxy." The chamber fell into a heavy silence once more, broken only by the faint hum of the control systems. Every council member could feel the tension growing. Aria's words had struck a nerve. Her calm demeanor hid the storm brewing inside her, but she had made it clear. Humanity would not bow down. Meanwhile, far away on Earth, General Ethan Lawson, the leader of the Earth Defense Fleet, sat in the command room of the U.S. Sentinel, one of humanity's largest and most advanced warships. The bridge was filled with the low hum of equipment, and the crew worked in unison, anticipating every move. Despite the outward calm, Lawson knew what was coming. The Vagar Empire's forces, the ones that had once seemed unstoppable, had finally made their move. "We're being watched, sir," said Commander Riley, one of Lawson's trusted officers, as she looked at the holographic display. The map showed several fleets of the Galactic Empire advancing toward Earth's borders. Lawson didn't flinch. Then let them watch, and let them learn. As the enemy fleet closed in, he gave the order to mobilize humanity's forces. It was time to show the galaxy that Earth wasn't just a planet to be overlooked. Back in the council chamber, the quiet was finally broken by the voice of Prime Minister Veros of the Centauri Dominion, an ancient race known for their wisdom. He had been observing the exchange with interest, but now his voice cut through the tension. "Enough talk. The time has come. The Vagar Empire's fleet is already mobilizing. We should act quickly before they grow too powerful." A moment of silence passed before Supreme General Jarek spoke again, his voice dripping with arrogance. "I have no doubt that we will crush Earth's defenses with ease. The human fleet is weak and divided. Their ships are outdated, their strategies are primitive. Even if they do manage to fight, it will only delay the inevitable. In the end, the Vagar Empire will rule this galaxy." But Arya wasn't listening to Jarek anymore. Her mind was elsewhere. She could feel the pulse of humanity's will to survive coursing through her. She had seen humanity's fighters, their soldiers, their engineers. These were people who fought not for glory, but for their homes. The galaxy may have thought Earth was weak, but they were about to see the true strength of the species that would never give up. Back on Earth, as the countdown to war ticked ever closer, General Lawson looked at the faces of his crew. They weren't afraid. They were ready. Humanity's fleet wasn't large, but it was powerful. And their greatest strength wasn't just in their technology. It was in their heart, in their refusal to ever back down. The storm was about to begin. The Galactic Empire had no idea what was coming for them. The first clash. The tension in the air could be felt across every starship as humanity's fleet assembled. The once calm and quiet Earth now hummed with the buzz of preparation. Soldiers, engineers, and commanders worked with purpose and precision, knowing what was at stake. This wasn't just a battle for survival. It was a declaration that humanity would not be crushed under the weight of the Galactic Empire. On Earth, General Ethan Lawson stood at the command center of the U.S. Sentinel, staring at the holographic map in front of him. His face was stoic, but in his mind, memories of past battles flooded his thoughts. He had been through countless fights, each one harder than the last. Yet nothing had prepared him for this moment. The Vagar Empire, a force that had crushed entire civilizations, was coming, and humanity was standing in its way. "General, we've received word from the fleet." Commander Riley's voice cut through his thoughts. "They're ready for the engagement. All ships are in position." Ethan nodded. "Good. Keep the comms open and make sure we're coordinated. This is not just about winning this fight. It's about sending a message." Riley nodded and walked off, relaying orders across the ship. As the crew scrambled, Ethan stood in front of the massive viewport, watching the stars blur as the fleet began to mobilize. Each ship in the Earth Defense Fleet was equipped with the best technology humanity had to offer. But it wasn't just their ships that would carry them through this battle. It was their resilience, their refusal to back down, no matter the odds. Across the galaxy, the Galactic Empire was unaware of the force they were about to face. Supreme General Zarek, leading the massive Vagar fleet, was confident that this would be another easy victory. His fleet outnumbered humanity's by miles. Their ships were far superior, and their tactics were tried and tested. They had crushed countless civilizations before. Why would Earth be any different? Jarek's arrogance echoed throughout the command deck of his flagship, the Vagar Dominance. His voice boomed with confidence as he spoke to his officers. "Prepare for the final push. We've been sent to crush these humans once and for all. Do not let them fool you with their primitive weapons. They are not a threat. But even as he spoke, a sense of unease crept into his thoughts. There was something in the air, something different about this fight. Maybe it was the way the humans had responded to his insults. Maybe it was the fire he saw in their diplomat's eyes. He couldn't place it, but he ignored the feeling and pushed forward. The battle began as both fleets closed in on each other, and the calm of space shattered in a blaze of laser fire and explosions. Humanity's fleet, though small in comparison to the Vagar forces, was fast, agile, and fierce. The U.S. Sentinel led the charge, with other ships flanking it in tight formations. Their tactics were simple but effective. Use their maneuverability to get in close and strike hard. General Lawson watched as the first wave of Vagar ships came into view, massive and imposing, yet slow to react. His fingers moved over the command console, directing the U.S. Sentinel and its allies toward their targets. Engage, Lawson ordered, his voice unwavering. The fleet moved into position. The first volley of weapons fired from Earth's ships struck with brutal accuracy, targeting the vulnerable areas of the Vagar vessels. The Vagar dominants shuddered as the first blasts hit, taking out their shields and causing the once powerful ship to stagger. The humans had proven one thing. They could strike fast, and they could strike hard. Jarek stared in disbelief as the human ships danced through the chaos, avoiding fire and hitting their targets with precise coordination. "What is this?" Jarek muttered, his voice tinged with surprise. Admiral Kor, watching the battle unfold from his own command vessel, cursed under his breath. "How are they doing this? Their ships shouldn't be able to outmaneuver us. This doesn't make sense." The Vagar fleet scrambled to respond, but their size and heavy weaponry were a disadvantage in the fast-moving battle. The humans weren't relying solely on their technology. They were using their intelligence, their speed, and their experience in unpredictable, high-stakes combat. It was something the Empire hadn't anticipated. The battle raged on, with each side suffering losses, but humanity's fleet continued to gain ground. The Vagar forces were uncoordinated, reeling from the unexpected strength of their opponents. Back on Earth, the atmosphere in the U.S. Sentinel Command Center was charged with excitement and anticipation. Lawson watched the battle unfold through the massive holographic screen in front of him. His crew was focused, each person playing their part to perfection. "We've taken down 2 Vagar cruisers," Commander Riley reported, her voice tinged with disbelief. "The Vagar fleet is scrambling, sir. They're not handling our tactics well." Ethan's expression remained calm, but inside, he couldn't help but feel a rush of pride. Humanity wasn't just surviving. They were winning. The Vagar Empire, for all its power, had underestimated the most dangerous force in the galaxy, humanity's will to fight and survive. But despite the early success, Lawson knew that this was just the beginning. The Vagar were powerful, and they wouldn't give up easily. The battle was far from over, and the humans would have to fight with everything they had to keep the upper hand. Across the galaxy, General Jarek was watching, his anger growing with each passing second. He had underestimated the humans, and now their victory was within reach. This was not the way he had planned it. The Galactic Empire was about to learn a hard lesson. Humanity was not to be taken lightly, and as the Vagar fleet began to falter, the humans would prove that their power wasn't just in their weapons, it was in their unshakable spirit. The Vagar Empire's unraveling. As the battle continued, the skies of space became a chaotic symphony of explosions, laser fire, and the sounds of disintegrating warships. The humans, despite being vastly outnumbered, fought with a ferocity that was unparalleled. Their ships, agile and sleek, darted across the battlefield like ghosts, striking at vulnerable points with surgical precision. General Lawson, aboard the U.S. Sentinel, watched the carnage unfold with a cool, calculated demeanor. Every decision he made had led them to this point, and it was working. Humanity's fleet was turning the tide of what was supposed to be an unwinnable war. He turned to his right-hand officer, Lieutenant Harper, who was monitoring the progress of the battle. "Report," Lawson said, his voice steady as he kept his eyes on the holographic map before him. Harper tapped a few buttons, bringing up the status of the fleet. "We've taken out 5 Vagar warships, sir. Their formation is falling apart. They can't keep up with our speed. They're too slow, too bulky. Our tactics are tearing them apart." Lawson nodded grimly. "Good. Keep the pressure on them. We don't let up. We show them that humanity doesn't back down." Meanwhile, on the Vagar flagship, the Vagar Dominance, Supreme General Xerak was seething. His anger was palpable, filling the command deck with an oppressive air. He paced back and forth, staring at the battle unfolding on the massive view screen. "Why aren't we winning?" Xerak shouted, his fist slamming onto the console. "These humans are supposed to be weak. They are nothing but insignificant ants. We should be crushing them by now." Admiral Kor, who had been silently observing the battle from his post, was quick to offer a suggestion. "Sir, the humans, they're not fighting like we expected. They're using hit-and-run tactics, exploiting our weaknesses. They're faster, and their ships are smaller but more agile. They are outmaneuvering us." Xerak hissed in frustration. "What are we going to do about it? We need to regroup, shift our strategy. It's clear they know how to exploit our ship designs. Their ships are faster and more maneuverable. Our larger ships are too slow to catch them." Xerak paused, his fists clenching in rage. He had been confident, overconfident, in the might of the Vagar Empire. Now, facing defeat at the hands of a far smaller force, his arrogance was crumbling, revealing the cracks in his psyche. "We've underestimated them, but I will not be outdone by these filthy humans." Xerak snarled, his voice rising in fury. "Prepare the Vagar Devastator. It's time to show them what real power looks like." The Vagar Devastator, the Vagar Empire's most powerful ship, was their last resort. Equipped with weapons capable of destroying entire planets, it was the Empire's ultimate weapon. Xerak had kept it hidden, waiting for the perfect moment to unleash its power. As the Vagar fleet continued to struggle against humanity's forces, the humans were unaware that their enemy was preparing to unleash their most deadly weapon. The moment was drawing near, and the battle was about to take an even darker turn. Meanwhile, back on Earth, the mood on the U.S. Sentinel was one of cautious optimism. The fleet had made significant progress, but General Lawson knew better than to grow complacent. "We've done well, but we can't let our guard down," Lawson said, turning to his officers. "This is far from over. The Vagar won't just roll over. They'll retaliate. We need to be ready for their next move." As he spoke, his eyes moved to the monitor in front of him, where the battle continued to rage. Humanity's fleet was holding strong, but the Vagar were not out of tricks yet. Lawson knew that the outcome of this battle would depend not just on their strength, but on their resolve. On the Vagar Dominance, Supreme General Xerak was preparing for the final assault. He stood before the command console, his face twisted with rage and determination. "Prepare the Vagar Devastator. It's time to end this." The weapon was being primed, and Xerak could already taste victory. He knew the humans wouldn't be able to withstand the might of the Vagar Devastator. Once it was deployed, their fleet would be wiped out in an instant. The humans might have won a few skirmishes, but they had no chance against the Empire's true power. But Xerak didn't anticipate what would happen next. As the Vagar Devastator powered up, a sudden, unexpected signal blared from the human fleet. It was a message, one that would shake the entire galaxy. "This is General Ethan Lawson of the U.S. Sentinel. To the Galactic Empire, I offer this final warning. You have underestimated humanity. You may have your weapon, but we have something far stronger: our will to survive. Prepare yourselves. The humans will not yield. We fight to win." The message was broadcast across the battlefield, its words rippling through the airwaves, reaching every ship, every soldier, every officer. The shock was immediate. Xerak stared at the message, his confidence now replaced with disbelief. For the first time in his life, he felt fear. Humanity, the very species he had called weak and cowardly, had proven him wrong. They were no longer just a nuisance. They were a force to be reckoned with. And with that message, the fate of the battle was sealed. Humanity had proven its strength, and the Vagar Empire was about to find out just how dangerous they truly were. The rise of humanity's wrath. The Vagar fleet was in disarray. General Jarek had activated the Vagar Devastator, his last hope to bring an end to the human threat. Yet, as the massive warship charged its deadly weapon, a quiet but fierce determination was spreading through the ranks of humanity's fleet. General Lawson, aboard the U.S. Sentinel, had seen many battles, but never one like this. He had watched his fleet take down enemies far larger than themselves, but the Vagar were different. This was a fight for survival. "Status report," Lawson said, his voice steady despite the intensity of the battle. He stood at the command center of the U.S. Sentinel, hands clasped behind his back. Lieutenant Harper, standing at his side, swiftly turned to the holographic display. "We've disabled 2 more of their warships, sir, but the Vagar Devastator is fully charged and ready. The Vagar will use it soon," Harper reported. The gravity in her voice was unmistakable. Lawson nodded, his expression unwavering. He had been expecting this moment. The Vagar Devastator was the key to the Empire's military power, a ship capable of erasing entire cities, entire worlds, with its devastating energy weapon. But Lawson knew that they could not let fear cloud their judgment. They had to press on. "Get our fleet into formation. We're not running. We're going to hit them before they can unleash that weapon," Lawson ordered. As the U.S. Sentinel and the rest of humanity's fleet maneuvered, preparing for what could be their final stand, the Vagar Devastator loomed large on the battlefield. It was a massive ship, dwarfing every other vessel around it. Its weapons were legendary, capable of annihilating fleets with a single shot. The Vagar believed this would be their moment of triumph, the end of humanity's resistance. But they were wrong. On board the Vagar Dominance, General Jarek was grinning in anticipation. His hands hovered over the controls, eager to pull the trigger and bring an end to the war. The Vagar had always considered themselves the galaxy's supreme power, their technology far more advanced than that of any other species. And now, with the Vagar Devastator charging, they would prove their dominance once and for all. "They will be nothing more than dust in our wake," Jarek muttered to himself. "Once we fire this weapon, we end them." But then, something unexpected happened. A flash of light, bright as a star, streaked across the battlefield. A human ship, one of the smaller, faster vessels, had darted in, maneuvering with unnatural speed. The ship struck the Vagar Devastator's exposed flank, sending a wave of shock through the Vagar fleet. The blast, while not enough to cause serious damage, was a clear message. Humanity was not afraid, and they would not give up. "Impossible," Jarek roared, his eyes wide in disbelief. "How did they?" But he didn't have time to finish. A second ship, a larger human vessel, slipped into the fight, opening fire on the Vagar Devastator's engines. Its smaller, highly maneuverable design allowed it to slip in and out of the Vagar fleet's firing range, forcing them to waste energy on futile attacks. The Vagar were struggling, unable to track and target the humans fast enough. "Damn it," Jarek cursed, slamming his fist onto the console. "I told you to annihilate them." Meanwhile, aboard the U.S. Sentinel, Lawson's voice came through the comms, steady but forceful. "This is our chance. We move in, now. Hit them with everything we've got." At his command, the human fleet surged forward, a tidal wave of ships moving with perfect coordination. The Vagar fleet, unable to effectively retaliate, was left exposed. One by one, human ships fired, targeting weak points in the Vagar vessel's armor. Their blasts were sharp, precise, and deadly. The Vagar Devastator may have been their greatest weapon, but it was now the very target humanity needed to destroy. General Jarek's face twisted in rage as his flagship rocked from another blast. All firepower on the U.S. Sentinel. Focus everything on that ship. But it was too late. The humans had already anticipated the attack. As the Vanguard dominance unleashed its barrage, the U.S. Sentinel deftly evaded, thanks to the nimbleness of its crew and its smaller size. And in one decisive move, Lawson's orders were carried out. A human ship launched a strike directly at the Vanguard Devastator's exposed power core. The explosion was cataclysmic. The Vanguard Devastator detonated in a brilliant flash of light, its energy weapon unable to be activated. The shockwave rippled through the battlefield, sending the remaining Vanguard warships tumbling. The galaxy held its breath. The Vanguard dominance was left in shambles, its mighty flagship now a flaming wreck. General Zarek's fury reached its peak. "Retreat. All ships, fall back," he shouted, but the damage was already done. Humanity had not only survived, it had triumphed. Against all odds, the galactic powers learned a hard truth. Humanity was not a force to be underestimated. The human fleet, battered but undefeated, stood victorious as the remnants of the Vanguard Empire's once proud war machine turned to dust. Lawson, watching the retreating Vanguard ships, finally allowed himself a moment of triumph. But he knew that this victory wasn't just about defeating an enemy. It was about something much more. This, Lawson murmured to himself, is humanity's true strength. The humans had won, and the galaxy would never forget it. "You said, the price of victory." As the last remnants of the Vanguard fleet drifted into the far reaches of space, burning and broken, the battlefield fell eerily silent. The stars seemed to shine a little brighter, as if witnessing the dawn of a new age. Humanity had triumphed, but victory came at a steep cost. General Lawson stood in the command center of the U.S. Sentinel, staring out at the remnants of the Vanguard fleet. He had witnessed countless battles, each one shaping him into the leader he was today. But this victory felt different. It was not just a triumph of strength, but of unity, strategy, and determination. Humanity had fought with everything it had, and the galaxy would never forget it. "Damage report," Lawson said, his voice steady but tinged with fatigue. Lieutenant Harper, her face illuminated by the soft glow of the display, quickly gathered the data. "Sir, we've taken heavy losses. Several ships are barely operational. The U.S. Eclipse is crippled, and the Vanguard Raider took significant damage. We'll need time to recover." Lawson nodded. "How many ships are we still able to fight with?" Harper hesitated. 50% of the fleet is still in operational condition. It's not ideal, but we can hold the line for now. The thought of humanity's fleet, once a patchwork of warships from various factions, now united and victorious, was a testament to the human spirit. Lawson knew the road ahead would not be easy. The galaxy was vast, and many more battles were sure to come. But for now, humanity had proven its worth. As he stood there, lost in thought, the communication officer's voice broke the silence. "Sir, we're receiving a transmission from the Galactic Council." Lawson raised an eyebrow. "Put it through." The screen flickered to life, and an alien diplomat appeared. His features were sharp and angular, his skin a pale blue, with glowing markings running along his temples. This was High Ambassador Karn, one of the Council's highest-ranking officials. His expression was unreadable, though there was a noticeable tension in his posture. "General Lawson," Karn said, his voice calm but heavy with meaning. "We are aware of your victory over the Vanguard. I must admit, we underestimated you." Lawson didn't respond immediately, choosing instead to observe the ambassador's body language. There was no warmth in his words, only a recognition of humanity's strength. Karn continued, "Your victory has sent shockwaves through the Galactic Council. The Vanguard, once thought to be an unstoppable force, have fallen to your old-fashioned tactics. It is clear that you are no longer the insignificant species we once believed you to be." For a moment, the ambassador was silent, clearly contemplating his next words. "We wish to extend an offer of cooperation." The Galactic Council would like to discuss a new alliance with your people. Perhaps there is more to humanity than we once thought. Lawson's eyes narrowed. He had fought hard to win this victory, and he was not about to be bought with empty words from a council that had once called humanity weak. What kind of alliance are we talking about? Karn's lips curled slightly into a tight smile. One where humanity can have a seat at the table. We acknowledge that you have strength, and we are willing to offer you access to galactic resources, trade, and influence. The Vagar's defeat has altered the balance of power. Now is the time for humanity to step into its rightful place. The offer hung in the air, and Lawson felt the weight of the moment. The Galactic Council, the very same organization that had once dismissed humanity as a primitive, war-fearing species, was now offering them a place of power. It was tempting. The resources, the knowledge, the alliances they could forge. But Lawson knew the true cost of power. He had seen it firsthand in countless battles. The Vagar had been ruthless in their pursuit of dominance, and the Galactic Council, with its political games and ulterior motives, was not above using humanity as a pawn. "I appreciate your offer, Ambassador," Lawson said, his voice cold but measured. "But we are not interested in alliances built on submission. Humanity has proven its strength, and we will decide our own path forward. We will negotiate when it's on our terms, not yours." Karn's expression hardened, his glowing eyes narrowing. "You would turn down such an opportunity." "We didn't fight to survive just to be handed scraps from the table," Lawson replied firmly. "Humanity is not here to be anyone's second-class citizen. We will carve our own future." There was a long silence before Karn spoke again. "Very well. But know this, General Lawson. Your refusal will not be forgotten. The Galactic Council does not forget those who stand in its way." Lawson didn't flinch. "We'll be ready for whatever comes next." With that, the screen went dark, and the tense silence in the command center returned. Lawson turned to Harper, his jaw set in determination. "Prepare the fleet for what's to come. We've made our stand. Now we build our future." Harper gave a small nod, her eyes filled with respect. "Aye, sir." As the U.S. Sentinel and the remaining ships of humanity's fleet drifted through the void, the reality of the situation settled in. Humanity had won, but the galaxy was still a vast and uncertain place. The Galactic Council might not forgive them so easily, and more threats would surely follow. But for now, humanity had shown its strength. They had sent a message that could not be ignored, and as long as there was breath in their lungs, they would continue to fight for their place in the stars. This was only the beginning. The future of humanity was now in their hands. "You said, the road ahead." The silence that followed the transmission from the Galactic Council hung heavy over the U.S. Sentinel. General Lawson stood before the observation window, his gaze fixed on the stars that stretched endlessly into the void. Humanity had just delivered a decisive blow to the Vagar, and the Galactic Council had acknowledged their strength. But this victory, however sweet, had only opened the door to greater challenges. "Sir," Lieutenant Harper said, her voice cutting through the quiet, "the fleet's been requesting orders. They're waiting for you to lead them into the next phase." Lawson turned slowly to face his second-in-command. "And what exactly do they expect me to say, Lieutenant?" "That the Galactic Council now wants to welcome us with open arms, or that they want to see us as partners. They're playing their political games, and I won't let them manipulate us into becoming another one of their pawns." Harper nodded, her face reflecting a quiet understanding. "We knew the road ahead wouldn't be easy, but we've proven ourselves. Humanity has fought, bled, and now we have earned a seat at the table, on our terms." "That's right," Lawson agreed, his voice firm. "We've proven that we are not to be underestimated. But the fight isn't over yet. The Vagar were just the first wave. And now, with our victory, every faction in the galaxy will be watching us. Some may want to make deals, but others will be looking for ways to crush us before we get too powerful." The sound of footsteps echoed in the command deck as Captain Mendoza approached. She stood with a report in her hand, her expression serious but resolute. "General, there's something you should see." Lawson's brow furrowed. "What is it, Captain?" Mendoza handed him the report, her fingers tracing the data screen. "It's intel from our scouts. The Vagar are pulling back, but not in defeat. They are regrouping. And the Carnathi, an ancient and powerful species, long silent in the galactic theater, are starting to move as well." Lawson's mind raced. The Carnathi were known for their fierce warrior culture and their complex, unforgiving honor code. They had been a shadow in galactic history, operating far beyond the reach of most species. If they were coming out of the shadows now, humanity would be in for a new kind of battle, one they hadn't prepared for. "Have our fleets been alerted?" Lawson asked, his tone sharp. "Already on high alert, sir," Mendoza confirmed. "But with the Vagar retreating and new players entering the fray, it's hard to predict what's next." Lawson took a deep breath. The weight of command, of leading humanity through such perilous times, was heavy. The Vagar might have been defeated, but they were not the only threat lurking in the galaxy, and the Galactic Council, even though they had offered an alliance, was still a wild card in this chaotic game. They had made their move, but Lawson would not be swayed by their promises of resources and power. Humanity had learned the hard way that trusting others, especially those with agendas, was not the path to survival. "We need to consolidate what we have," Lawson said, turning to the crew. "Prepare the fleet for new conflict. We're not backing down. I want all ships to refuel and undergo a full review. Everyone gets a break, but only for 24 hours. After that, we move forward. There's no time to waste." As the crew scrambled to carry out his orders, Lawson allowed himself a rare moment of contemplation. The universe was vast, and humanity had just shown that it was capable of defending itself, no longer the timid, underestimated species of the past. But the road ahead was uncharted. They had to prepare for the Carnathi, for any new threats that might appear on the horizon. And there was something else that lingered in the back of his mind: the uncertainty of the Galactic Council's true intentions. The ambassador's words still echoed in his mind. Their offer of an alliance had been a trap, one designed to keep humanity in check. But the offer had been rejected, and Lawson knew that the Council's actions would speak louder than any words. They could either work with humanity, on humanity's terms, or they could face humanity's fury. But for now, Lawson's focus had to remain on the Carnathi. The fate of humanity rested on their ability to stand firm against this new threat. The galaxy was filled with power struggles, deceit, and wars. The only way forward was to make it clear that humanity would not be bullied or crushed. They had already shown what they were capable of when pushed to the edge. "We'll need allies," Lawson said to himself, his voice low and determined. "True allies, ones who don't have an agenda other than survival." As he stared into the stars once more, Lawson knew that this was just the beginning. The battle for humanity's place in the galaxy would be fought on many fronts. But with every victory, every step forward, they would prove that humanity was no longer just a fledgling species in the corner of the universe. They were a force to be reckoned with, a force that would fight for their survival and their future, no matter the cost. The future was unknown, but one thing was certain: humanity had arrived, and no one would dare forget it.